Hi and welcome to Puro Dino. So in last week's episode I mentioned that technical bulletin and I said in the video that I was going to come back to it, but then later on in the video I realized that it would make the video a little bit too long. We were already over the 20 minutes there, and so I decided to do that in a separate video, talk about that technical bulletin. Now, why is that technical bulletin so important? It is brought up quite frequently, quite often to explain or sometimes even justify why there are certain badges on a GT4, on a 308 GT4. And as everybody that either owns a 308 GT4 or is looking to buy a 308 GT4 will know, these cars come with a variety of badges, combination of badges, and so on and so forth. And this bulletin is often kind of referred to by people to either say, yes, this is correct, and sometimes even justify why those badges are on the car. But is that bulletin actually interpreted correctly? That's what I want to talk about in this video. So Bulletin 266 is a technical bulletin that was issued in 1975, and as you can see it has an opening page, cover page, and 13 technical instruction pages. So pages 1 to 3 deal with the front bumper modification. Then you have pages 4 to 6, they deal with the rear bumper, as we can see. Then we have page 7, which deals with the fitting of the front spoiler. Page 9 is in relation to the exhaust pipe. Pages 10 and 11 are in relation to the rear muffler grille. And pages 12 and 13 are in relation to the black paint of the car body, the so-called boxer paint scheme. And yes, we skipped a page. That is page number 8. This one here, which is basically what it is all about. And this page covers the fitting of the Ferrari badges. So let's talk about that in a bit more detail. So before we dive any deeper into this, let me say this clearly. It's your car, and you do with your car whatever you want. Now, these days Ferrari might frown at that idea, but when it comes to the 308 GT4, Ferrari is not going to stop you. So you need to like it. If you have a car or you're thinking of buying a car, you like the badging that is on it, that is the most important thing. But if you are a person that wants to use Bulletin 266 to claim historical accuracy or correctness, that's where it gets a bit tricky, and that's where I hope this video will come in handy. Some owners of early Dino 308 GT4s have cars like mine with a Ferrari nose badge and a Cavallino on the rear. And is that correct? Well, you first of all need to define what you mean by correct. So you need to set your rules within within which you're going to interpret something. In my opinion, no, it's not. And this bulletin isn't going to change anything about that. And why not? Well, let's look at the 3 main things that page 8 of this bulletin is saying. So we have the push horn button, you could get away with that, saying that, well, the bulletin says so. Then if you look at what it says about the nose badge, it is very specific about where it's placing the nose badge with the exact dimensions, and it is clearly above the Dino badge, not instead of the Dino badge. And then thirdly, when we look at the Cavallino that is being placed on the rear of the car, if you look at it closely, where it is placed on this page, or where this technical bulletin tells you to place that badge, it's actually against the European directive of March 1970, which mentions what the dimensions need to be where a license plate in the European Union, in those days it was the EEC, where that needs to go. And this Cavallino is placed within those dimensions where you shouldn't be placing anything. So that's a weird thing, but it'll all become clear in a second. And that immediately brings us to the clincher in the story. I strongly believe that this technical bulletin was only meant for the US market. I have contacted several long-standing European dealers and importers of those days, and none of them have been able to provide me with a European version of this technical bulletin. And if you combine that with the different situation in those days in Europe, the sales figures were not as bad. The general feeling towards the Dino brand in Europe, if you take all those things into consideration, I strongly believe that this was never meant for the European market. Oh, but why do we see so many European cars that have been rebadged as well? Well, if we look at it, that didn't happen in the 1970s, and definitely not in 1975. That is more of a product of late 70s, 80s and 90s, when the value of these cars was not what other Ferraris were. So people kind of thought, I'm going to bring up the value of my car by rebadging it. And yeah, there was lots of examples of cars that had already done that. So why wouldn't I do that with my car and make it more valuable? But this directive, or this technical bulletin, was never meant for a European market. So what does it actually mean for your car? Well, if you have a US car that is pre-May 1976, left the factory with Dino badges, but it has followed the bulletin correctly, which means you have a Ferrari badge and underneath that the Dino badge is still there, and it has followed all the other kind of things according to this technical bulletin, is it correct? Yeah, you could say so. If you have a European car, like mine, pre the bulletin or pre-May 1976, it left the factory with Dino badges and it is now Ferrari badged. Does this bulletin apply to you? Not at all. So you can't claim afterwards either that this bulletin justifies the fact that you now have Ferrari badges on your car, because it simply doesn't apply. But here's the thing, what is correct and what is not correct? I don't think there is a universal correctness in the sense that even the dealers in those days, the American dealers, they weren't following the technical bulletin to the letter, and they did their own thing. Which means that your car was probably delivered to you or to the client in those days like that. So what is correct and what is not correct anymore? There is no universal rule for what is correct, what is not correct, if the dealers themselves were just kind of doing their own thing. So in my sense, you only have the way the car left the factory, and if there was any rebadging done afterwards, it was the 1970s. There was no correct or incorrect. So what's the only thing that we can say for sure is that if your car was built pre-May 1976, it probably had Dino badging, and that's it. If your car was built after, it had Ferrari badging. Although it still had the Dino script on the boot. There was never any car that left the factory with a Ferrari script on the boot. It was just never done. So, in my opinion, some cars still wear their original badges, others have lost them. If your car has lost them, there is no correct or incorrect. It's just whatever you prefer at that stage. If you prefer the way the car left the factory, you know what that was. If you prefer anything else, there is no correct or incorrect. But please stop using this technical bulletin to justify your badging or say that it is correct or that others are incorrect, because this bulletin really isn't for that, and it's not really helping in that regards either. It was only applicable to US cars, first of all. 99.9% of the cars got rid of the Dino badge, which is not what this technical bulletin was saying. And it's just not helping in the correct, incorrect regards. You either have the way the car left the factory, and that's it. Anything else, you cannot use this bulletin to justify certain badging. So there you go, guys. Just really quickly recapped, your car is either original, as in the way it left the factory. If that's not the case, then it's totally up to you what you like, what you prefer. If you like the car the way it is, nobody can tell you it's incorrect. Nobody can claim that if they made changes afterwards that it was correct either, because practically nobody ever followed this technical bulletin anyway. So it doesn't justify anything. It doesn't make anything correct more than somebody else's badging. If you like the way your car is badged, that's it. That's the most important thing. If you want it to be the way it left the factory, it's up to you to make those changes if you need to, and otherwise just enjoy your car the way it is. It's just such an amazing car with such an amazing backstory, which we're still finding things out about these days. It's such an important car to the whole Ferrari background, the history and everything. Enjoy that. Don't get bogged down on how your car is badged, because, just enjoy the car. But still, guys, curious to kind of know what you guys think. If you have an opinion, which probably some of you might have, leave some comments in the comment section below, and hopefully you like this sort of content as well, other than driving Dino around. For the moment, we still need to take it easy. And yeah, so hopefully see you guys in the next episode of Puro Dino. In the meantime, like, share, subscribe, because it really does help the channel out a lot. And hopefully see you in the next episode. Ciao a tutti!